Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're actually going to jump into a topic that I actually wanted to cover for a little while. And I actually feel that it's obviously, with this channel, we try to go over a lot of self-help and sometimes the dynamic between between relationships and the dynamic between men and women and the whole kind of struggle between kind of figuring things out. And this really jumps into that same category of things between men and women in relationships, not the whole financial aspects of what the channel sometimes gets into and other self-help areas. But this is actually something that I wanted to cover for a while because there was a discussion that I had with a few people a little while back in regards to the dynamic of what people, want in a relationship, or what, not really necessarily a relationship, but what's brought to the table almost on a kind of, I don't want to use the word business aspect, but a lot of times, a relationship generally comes down to an exchange, what you're getting from the other person, what they're bringing to the table versus what you're bringing to the table. And though some people don't want to view a relationship in that way, generally speaking, that is the meat and potatoes of what comes down to a relationship, along with obviously the feelings and all the other kind of stuff. But covering just the basis of what's brought to the table, a topic came up in regards to, well, you shouldn't view things like that necessarily. A discussion amongst a few people I know in regards to things shouldn't be quote unquote so business like, okay, it shouldn't be about what they're bringing to the table, what you're bringing to the table on a kind of one-to-one basis. Okay, you're bringing that, I'm bringing this, compromising versus that versus this. It's just you do your thing, they do their thing, and just things just come together, which for most of us, as great as that might sound, is not really the way that we feel, I guess, for lack of a better word, the way we would feel appreciated, because we know, hey, if I'm offering this on the table, I want to know that I'm getting a certain thing in return. Don't mind the ACs into the background. It's a really hot day. But anyway, so with that being said, I'm presenting here the core. I came up with this list of the three primary core elements that a guy brings to the table, or at least that a guy brings to the table, but also that a woman wants from him most, even whether they know it or not. And the reason why I say it like that is because sometimes people think certain things are for free, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then also the primary things that a guy wants from a woman, or that she could bring to the table. And like I said, these are things that for men, a lot of times it might be highly expected. They don't think it comes for free, and sometimes they give up on certain of these things being there. But either way, either dynamic of how it unfolds, we're going to present these and then kind of get into the discussion, including the weight in which each one of these three primary elements, I personally feel, match up equally, or what will come first on the list. Now, granted, take this from a perspective of this is what's being put on the table beyond the other things that you would offer to say, okay, you know what? These are some of my positive traits. This is what I bring to the table. Beyond those things, these are the core elements that I feel, and you can post inside the comments down below if you feel that there are other elements, that are take precedent over these, but that I feel these are the backbones of what everyone normally would say. Okay, for a guy, this is what I want from a woman. Woman be like, this is what I want from a guy. But a lot of times these core things get overlooked in regards to thinking they just come for free. So I wrote them out here on my tablet, and I hope you could see that well. And I'll kind of go over them real quickly, and then we could dive into it in deeper discussion. So for what men provide, you have, hold on, make sure that it's as bright as it can be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that just to prop it up a little bit at an angle, if that helps a little bit. So men provide protection, security, and management. And what I mean by management is future planning, in regards to things like, you know, retirement, future money, future generational money, plans for, like, as far as how we're gonna plan college and all these other kind of things, all these kind of other future plans. So it's not just security; it's more of like finance for here in the moment. Obviously, protection is what it is. You already know that's self-explanatory. But for security, is more like finances here in the moment, and money management. Now, I put these things as two different things because a lot of people sometimes just think they go into the same thing. They're not. It's one thing to make money. It's a whole nother thing to plan your future for not only retirement for yourself, retirement for the family, growth for your kids, in terms of, putting away, like, maybe a bank account, investment account for your kids. So that way when they, when they get, like, say 20 years old, then maybe 30, then maybe 60, they have, however you want to break it down, but you have financial, freedom, I guess you could say, or financial benefit heading their way, so that way they can make the next generation after them, your grandkids, even easier for them, because you left money for your kids, which makes it easier for them to now say, okay, my kids now have a step up and their kids have a step up, and so on and so forth. So management, like I said, is a difficult task. Men know it's not easy. It goes into a whole different category. So that's not going to be grouped in with just security. There are a lot of men who don't do that either. They just have money. They don't do the management. And that's when sometimes in the long run, things fall apart, because you can't just be spending money. That's security for the moment. You can't just be spending money and being okay then. You have no future planning, no management down the line. That's going to just make everything fall apart. So that's why that's in a separate category. For women, what they provide is taking care of the man. These are the things that they could provide to the man that the man wants. So this is, like I said, the perspective of what men bring to the table for the woman, for the family. This is the perspective of what women bring to the table for the man, for the family. And keep in mind that this is, like I said, what men want. The other thing is what women want. So, for anyone, like a woman who might look at that and say, like, okay, like, no, that's not what I bring to the table. This is from the perspective of what the man actually wants. Same thing for the men. If men go, oh, I don't want, most men are never going to argue with these three things. But if they go, that's not what I bring to the table, I bring other things. Yes, but this is what women want from you, generally speaking. They may not say it because they think it's automatic. But if we're putting it on the table, these are the things that they want from you. So for the women, what they bring to the table is taking care of the man. That includes the bedroom, things like back rubs, treating him well, verbal encouragement. This thing, but specifically probably more so heavily weighted in the bedroom, but even verbal encouragement, making them feel good, is actually a big thing too, because it boosts their confidence, send them into the world. Women sometimes don't realize that. They say, I want a guy who has confidence, doesn't realize that most of the time, and I mentioned this in a previous video, that confidence comes from knowing that you're liked, that you're appreciated, and especially from the person that you're with more so than anybody else. So at that point, the verbal encouragement instills confidence into the world. So that 100%, I can tell you right now, goes hand in hand with what a guy wants in the bedroom, in the sense that value. What's more valuable? Yes, a guy wants what he wants in the bedroom, but just as important is him feeling verbally encouraged and having that backing from the person he's with as well. That goes right up there, because trust me, you don't want to feel defeated and feel like no one's inside your corner. It plays a very big role. So that's the first thing. The second thing is submission. And that elaborates into a lot of other things, but base point of it is, it simply means that you're letting the man run the ship. You're letting him do the things that he's doing. So in the category of all the things that the man brings to the table, that he provides to the woman, that she generally wants, he can't do none of these things if the woman is not submissive to allow him to do those things. So this is important to make that contrast, because a lot of women, they hear the word submission, just think it means, oh, I'm being, I'm a slave. It means that I can't do anything. That's not what it means. It means don't get inside the man's way from doing his duty. That's one. Two, allow him to, when it comes to big decisions, unless it's totally illogical what he's coming up with, let him have the final decision, because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all for one of these three categories. If a man says that he needs you to submit to him, not in so many words, he's not going to say it like that, but generally speaking, if he needs you to submit to him, it's 99% of the time so he can execute one of these three things. So he can protect you. If he tells you in the very moment, you're like, I want to go do this, and he's like, listen, I don't feel that good about where we're at right now. This area looks kind of shady. Maybe what we're doing is kind of whatever. Grabs you by the hand and says, let's get out of here. Don't fight him on it. It's because he's trying to protect you. Security. If you're like, oh, I want to spend this and that, blah, and he goes, listen, let me lead. I'm telling you right now, the finances aren't there right now. That's his way of saying, I can't provide security if you don't let me be in charge of the finances that are brought into the house. And most of the time, men have the philosophy that his money is everyone's money and the girl's money is just her money. But the truth is, if she's willing to submit to him and she's like the working type of woman, she would be surprised at how much more the man can do if he's able to manage all the resources coming into the house, assuming that he's doing the right thing. I'm not counting for the guys who aren't doing the right thing. But even then, future money management, submitting to him, allowing him to take control of those things, means that he will be able then to provide a secure future for, the woman in his life, himself, the whole family, the kids, the next generation of kids, because there's a lot of families out there in the world who do this. They have money and wealth and resources for not only their kids, their grandkids, but their great grandkids, and sometimes even for the great great grandkids that they'll never see. So understand that comes with submission and letting him do what he has to do, along with submitting inside the household, in terms of just, this kind of goes hand in hand with taking care of him. Submit to him in regards to, encourage him. Don't say the things that are gonna make him not feel good, especially if maybe you guys are having a dispute. Don't come at him in a way where you could voice your opinion and say, listen, I don't really like this, I don't feel comfortable with that. Don't raise your voice at him. That's part of submission too, not raising your voice. Yes, it goes hand in hand with respect, but these days submission has to be something that encompasses so many other things, because certain things are lacking. So that includes the way you respect him, the way you talk to him. Don't talk to him in a bad way. Don't talk to him in a way that's disrespectful, anything of that sort. So you get the idea. That's submission. Order in the home. Order in the household is the other thing that women provide and bring to the picture. And it's very important. And a guy will never, ever say that a woman doesn't own this territory or is the master of this territory. It's not just cleaning and cooking, which I note there, but it's also inner home management. So while the guy does management in terms of future planning, and he's very adept at that, he's usually often, I'm not going to say all the time, but usually better than a woman when it comes to that, because that takes a certain level of logic. It takes a certain level of, planning for the future, a certain level of just saying, I'm not thinking on my emotions because I want to buy this and that. I got to really have things planned out, and he's about the finance. This order in the home is like that same concept, but in the home, which women are masters of. And it's not that, saying that is not a derogatory viewpoint. It's appreciation to the woman. And if women don't think of it like that, think about your grandmas back in the days and how they used to run the inside of the household with everything in terms of taking care of things, make sure everything functioned, having everybody's day planned out, knowing everything. This includes things like, even telling the man, listen, you got a dentist appointment, or you got an appointment for this, or you got, a checkup, you got to go to your whatever. You haven't done that in a while. You aren't taking care of yourself. Guess what? You got to go do that. Oh, guess what? You haven't been eating well. I made you this type of food. And even though the guy's going to be, oh man, I don't want to eat that. No, this is what you're eating, because guess what? Your cholesterol is too high, this and that. It's things like that. So it's not just cleaning. It's not just cooking. It's managing the household. The woman in the household, and this is where women start to not understand a lot of times when it comes to, I want to be respected as a woman. I want to be blah, blah, this and that without doing the job. The woman is the queen in the household, but you have to put in that work to be viewed as the queen, because it doesn't come for free. Just like a man has a job to do, as I point out here, the woman has a job to do. And the order in the household is very important. But now taking that same thing over to the kids aspect, not just the man, it's setting up the kids' doctor's appointments. Who's the doctor? Setting up school. Men usually don't do this. They're usually not that very good at that either. Having everything checked out for the kids, all the shots that they got to get. When's their next, annual checkup? Especially if they're young, if they're a little bit older, what's going on with their homework? Are everything's on point? How are they doing in school? What other kind of little things are going on? Like all those kind of things, the woman manages, and it's a serious job. Now, don't get it twisted to think that, just sometimes, even though a woman may do this, sometimes a woman may do this and she doesn't work, and that's fine. Sometimes a woman works and she's still expected to do these things, just like, a man works, but he's still expected to manage the future finances, protect, and whatever the case is. So sometimes these things, depending on what the guy wants and depending on what the woman wants, these things don't come separate of you still having to be a part of the normal world, the outside world. But nonetheless, this is a very important job, and it's very much respected, appreciated, and men, like, they honor it. So all these things, men view that as the top core things that they need. Like I said, post in the comments if you disagree or you think that it should be something else. But for the most part, most men will say that these are the three things that they want from a woman. These are the three things that women want from a man. The only problem is a lot of times women think it comes free, and they don't realize that. They be like, well, of course, if I'm outside, like, you got to protect me. As I stated one time at a past video, a man is going to die for a female. A man would die for a woman that he just goes on a date with, just off principle that, okay, like if someone comes into this restaurant and gets ready to whatever, shoot up the place, I'm jumping on top of the woman I came with, just off the fact that I'm not going to appear to be that person who doesn't do that. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but majority of men feel that way. A lot of times a woman might think that security and protection, obviously, money management comes later on down the line, but security and protection in the first, opening, days of dating is automatically free, and it's not. And then they sometimes would think, well, I don't want to provide these other things. Now, here's what I'm going to say. And the reason why I'm matching them up in this order is because once you go into the dating realm with someone, and you're seriously dating them, meaning that you're really putting in that time, you're putting in that investment. It's just not like a kind of hookup or nothing like that. Protection, I put these in an order where I feel that that the first line for the men and the first line for the woman is matched up accordingly. And like I said, in the comments you can say differently if you disagree. But generally speaking, in the first we'll say phase of the dating, men are providing protection, which is a serious thing because they're literally willing to give their life. So with that being said, I feel the first thing that a woman can give that's free is taking care of the man. And it goes hand in hand with him even feeling like, should we even go forward? Taking care of him, like I said, in the bedroom, verbal encouragement, making sure he feels good. That goes hand in hand with protection. These are two things that are free, that do not require, anything other than just you're bringing to the table, no extra things other than just your physical person. So that's why I feel those two things match up evenly when it comes to, hey, a woman and a guy, they get to know each other. They want to say, what are you bringing to the table? Maybe not in so many words, but in terms of an even exchange, protection versus a woman taking care of a man is an even exchange. It doesn't matter whether, a woman might say, I don't agree with that because, I'm with you in the bedroom, this and that. Protection works similar to the army. You hope that we never go to war, But when we go to war, you appreciate that the army is there to make sure everything's good. The value in the protection is that you hope you never need it, but at least you know it's always there to protect you. And when that time comes, the person who's protecting is making a huge sacrifice, whether it's just getting injured or whether it's actually dying. The point is, it's a huge thing. So never discount that as something that's minor or minute or just whatever, because that's unfair to the person doing the protection. Now, so with that being said, I say those two things are the two things that I feel equally go hand in hand in terms of what's offered on the table. Because keep in mind, like I said, a relationship is an exchange of what people bring to the table, even though no one wants to say it like that because it doesn't make it sound romantic. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. Secondly, security versus submission. A guy, these are two things where it's like they go hand in hand as well. If a guy is providing security for a woman, if they get to the stage and the phase where he's, paying money and even if it's just on the beginning phases of the dating where he's taking the woman out on dates, she should provide submission. Submission would then in turn mean if he goes, hey, guess what? I'm providing the money, but today we can't go out. Today we're not going on a date. We're going to stay inside because I can't financially handle it. It's not for the woman to go, oh, I'm leaving you because you ain't providing the money right now, or we ain't doing this. No, that goes hand in hand with submission. You submit to the man, and if he says, I can't, do that right now, then I can't do it. Same thing, vice versa, is that if the woman is providing submission, then to that man and giving, herself up in terms of like, kind of letting him take the lead, then of course he has to provide that security because she's now giving herself, her time, her energy, not time, because we all give our time. The man's giving time too, but more so in the sense like time in the aspect of like, I'm submitting to you, that you have the majority of my time. I'm submitting to you that you have the majority of control. I'm submitting to you all these kind of things, like I mentioned earlier into the video. And so he's going to then in turn provide security because now it ensures to him that this person is worthy for me to provide that security for. So the two go hand in hand. Then obviously the last two categories, money management for the future, or management, I'm sorry, not money management, but management, period, future management for the guy that he provides, and the order that the woman provides in the home are two things that come once two people are, for the most part, living with each other and are completely serious, or along the lines of either being married, about to get married, living with each other, or have a kid in common. That's when those two come into play. So that's why those two things make sense to go hand in hand together. You're not going to be managing a woman's future, your own future. Obviously, you're going to have to do regardless, but you're not going to be managing your own future. A woman's future that you're with, unless she's living with you and you guys or your lives are intertwined together. The same way that she's not going to be creating order for the home unless you guys are living together and you guys have a substantial relationship, or as included, having kids in the situation. So this is the order that things go in. The reason why I went over that to say the order and why that's important is because, a lot of times in relationships, the order of things is all over the place. A guy goes on a date with a woman right away. She might be thinking like he's supposed to be providing, paying for everything all the time. The guy's like, I don't even really know you. He could be going then on another date a week later and he's just giving out money. That makes no sense for the man, and it's not an even exchange. Along with, and I'm sorry if this video sounds a little bit biased towards these core elements in regards to men versus women, but the thing about it is there's a lot of men who understand that I have to have these things when I come to the table, but a lot of times like these things are not necessarily appreciated by the opposite sex when it comes to that they're being provided. Like it just comes as like, okay, you spend money on me, who cares? No, it's not that, because money translates to hard work and time, which translates to future investments, which translates to building an empire. And it's like it should not be spent lightly, the same way that women do not spend their quote unquote submission lightly, or anything of that sort. So the order of it, I feel, comes into importance. Now, does that mean that a woman should be sleeping around with just anybody? No. But at the same time, should a man be protecting everybody? No. Definitely no. Because there are some people who are not even worthy to be protected, especially if that particular man is a good guy that knows he has high value in the world, or is going to potentially have high value in the world down the line, because he knows, I'm going to be the type of guy who, I provide for my family. I want a family. I'm going to do this and that. That type of guy should not be protecting some woman who's just like, hey, I want to get money from a man. I want to just, have him take me out for drinks, buy me things, and blah, blah. That kind of woman should not get the protection of a valuable man. I won't use the term high value, but a valuable man who is going to bring into this world a nice, happy family, kids and everything. And to say, well, before he even had a chance to do that, he had to lose his life because he was hanging out with a woman who was like, let's go do things that are like, hang out in shady areas, whatever the case is, and you lost your life, or whatever the case is, hanging around bad crowds, whatever the case is. So my point to that is, protection is not to be viewed lightly, and is definitely to be viewed on the same level as the woman taking care of the man. And so it's not a thing of a woman to go, a lot of times, like I said, in the order of things, it gets put that a woman taking care of the man, especially in terms of taking care of the man in the bedroom, quote unquote, becomes the equivalent of, okay, I want to match that with money, financial security, spending money. That's a bad measurement, because one, and actually Tupac said this one time before, and I think it actually makes sense, and I think it's a very wise kind of term. If you are basing who you give your bedroom fund to or dedication to based on how much money they're giving you, then you're selling yourself. That means you have a price on your pleasure, we'll say. And that essentially makes you like a prostitute, And so that should not be the measurement on who you give your bedroom fund to. You know what I mean? It should not be on the basis of finance. It should be on the basis of, that person's a good fit for me, and they're willing to protect me. They're willing to, be a nice person to me. They're respectful to me. I can see a future with them. That's the person I'm going to give this to, not the person who's paying for it. Because essentially, if they're giving you money, taking you out on trips, buying you bags, they're paying for for lack of a better word, the box. They're paying for it, and you're giving it to them. And that essentially just makes you a prostitute. So those two things shouldn't be aligned up. And like I said, protection from a man is not something that should be looked at as just a small value. If you think not, have a son or have a dad who's single and he goes on dates because whatever, he's exploring the market, or like I said, a son, and you're older and you have a son. Let you know that man in your life, family member, is about to give his life to some random person. You'd be like, no, I don't want to know that my dad or my brother or my son died for some random chick. You know what I mean? Some random chick that I don't even know, as opposed to, oh, he was, that person he was with that maybe he died for. We were so close. I was so close with that woman that I consider her now like my daughter as well, or my sister as well, or whatever the case is, because we're so close to each other. That's difference versus, okay, my brother or dad or son died for some random chick, and I'll never know that chick ever in her life, but the person I lost, that family member, is dead now. You see the point I'm saying? So taking care of a guy inside the bedroom and verbally encouragement, the whole taking care of a man, period, that category matches with protection. And I, these are things that, going back to what I'm saying, a lot of these things get placed out of order, are not valued. Women sometimes don't value protection from the man like it just comes automatically. It's not automatic. A man has the very right to, most men will never do this, but has the very right to be in a shady environment, be in, in a shady location, and can just straight legit just say, the woman's like, I'm scared, or even like a dog comes out. Oh my God, a dog. And he could be like, I'm out. You take care of yourself. Now, everyone will look at that man and shame him, but that protection, my point of it is that protection should not be free. It's still something to be on the bargaining table. And it's not asking that much for a woman to take care of a man who's willing to protect her. That's really not. And society has everything thrown off. And obviously, we already went over the other things, but I just want to point that out because I feel like those are two things that get misplaced in their order. Security versus taking care of a man sometimes gets put hand in hand in this world, and those two should not be linked together. Protection would be comparable to taking care of the man because both of them don't require anything in addition, no kind of real sacrifice. And then two, security is one of those things where finance specifically is one of those things that really is of a higher value than taking care of than a woman taking care of a man. Like money is a higher value than someone giving verbal encouragement or sleeping around a bedroom. They're not comparable. It's one thing is free, the other thing required your time to achieve. And for some people, that requires a lot more to get that same amount of money because some people aren't paid a lot. And so their time requires a lot of working over the week and thinking, okay, I just gave up that. Like for some people, they go spend $100 on a dinner. That's not cheap. It's a full day of working for a lot of people. And to say, yo, I spent a whole day at work to take somebody out and spend $100 on dinner or whatever the case is. And then to be like, next week I don't get a call from you, you bounce. That's why you can't put that on the same level, because in the dating game, certain things are not guaranteed. Another date is not guaranteed. So your money should not be spent on something like that, just thrown out like lightly. So these are the core elements. I'm gonna stop the video here. Put in the comments down below what your thoughts are, how you feel about this. Generally speaking, I feel that this right here is something that a lot of people should really kind of know, study, understand that like what these things are, understand your value as men, understand your value as women, understand that these are the things that the opposite sex wants. So when you start saying to yourself, as a man or as a woman, what am I looking for? What is it that I bring to the table? Understand that the opposite sex, 9 times out of 10, whether they're going to say it or not, the reason why some people won't say it is because they think these things come for free. A woman won't say, okay, like they might say, I want you to go spend this on me. I want blah, 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 because they think a protection comes for free. They think future management comes for free because it's like, oh, I expect you to already have everything planned out and this and that. No, that's not for free. Same thing with the guys, what they want from the woman. Most women don't think these things are free, but at the same time too, understanding the value of it. Men need to also understand that a woman taking care of you in the bedroom, this and that, is not the highest value thing. It's one of the core elements that you need, but it should not be one of those things that's like, understand its value. Do not put it on a pedestal higher than other things. You haven't even got to the area of submission or order in the home, and you're willing to give up all 3 of these things for just the first thing that the woman could provide, which is obviously, I'm not trying to diminish its value, but understand what its value is. If a woman's willing to give up, her bedroom play to some random guy who doesn't meet these criterias, but then you come into the picture and you're required to have all these things and more just to get that, there's a problem with that exchange. So a part of this is just understanding when it comes to that balance of, though people don't write these things down and say, hey, we're having an exchange in this manner, but just understand that behind the scenes, we're all actually doing that. We're putting down on paper in our mind, this is what I'm bringing, this is what you're bringing. Men and women both need to understand what they're bringing. They both need to understand what the other person wants. and know, are you bringing that to the table, what they want? Don't let somebody tell you, this is what I'm bringing to the table and you should want it, but this is what I'm asking of you. No, we both, man and woman, should be asking what they want and bringing to the table what the other person needs. Not bringing to the table what you want to bring, but demanding from the other person what you want, because then it's not a fair exchange. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.